Most entrepreneurs want to scale, but very few actually understand what scale is, and more importantly, what it actually means and implies. And without knowing exactly what it is and how you can better handle it, it is very easy to end up in a personal or professional bankruptcy. Let's get to it. I am the CEO and founder of Selfmastered, which is a high-performance training company. We help entrepreneurs and business leaders scale their businesses by teaching them 8 core high-performance skills that allow them to operate at peak potential when managing their businesses. Before I dive deep in this video, remember to like, subscribe, and comment, and do everything you guys know we need to do so you never miss out on any of the juicy videos that we publish a couple of times a week. And today I want to discuss what is scale in business and how does that relate to personal performance. Because listen, everybody wants to grow very big when having a business, but very few actually know how to handle that scale. And first, let's start by defining what is a scale. So a scale is once you put one unit of input in the system and you have an exponential or geometric return on that input. A scaling is not the same as growing. Growing is when you put one in the system and get a fixed amount out. But if you put one in a system that is scaling, you get an exponential amount out. And this is a very important thing to understand because it means that there's a degree of complexity that you cannot control when you are seeking to scale. And one of the best examples of this is the story of Facebook, the biggest social network that during the first 10 years of its life had a motto that was move fast and break things. From 2004 to 2014, they would use that motto to chart that path to hyper growth and hyper scale that they were pursuing. In fact, in the words of Mark Zuckerberg, as developers, moving quickly was so important, it would even tolerate a few bugs to do it. But no longer, as the company has grown to such mammoth proportions that spending time fixing bugs was slowing it down faster than its risky attitude towards development. In other words, they were scaling so fast that they mishandled the complexity that came with that scale. So they had to slow down. In fact, they changed the motto saying, move fast, but with a stable infrastructure. They would not allow bugs in the platform after 2014 because those bugs were all becoming a real problem. In 2014, Facebook had 1.4 billion users. Last year, it was 2.8 billion, double the amount of users in these 8 years. So I think their strategy has definitely been successful. Now, how does this relate to you? Why does this matter? Well, if you think about it, all entrepreneurs could learn from this because wanting to scale without having the right infrastructure is a recipe for failure. You need to have the correct systems that allow you to scale whenever you seek. Which is why it is so important to learn how to operate at peak personal performance. Because if you want to build a long-lasting, complex business, you need to be extremely good at managing the most important person in the business, which is you. Which is why self-management is the origin of all business success. Now, before we go deep into how a company grows and what are different stages of a business, put in the comments if you have ever seen self-management as the basis of business growth. If for whatever reason you believe this is not the case, I would love to hear your perspective. So in my view, in order to build a long-lasting business, you need to be solving every bottleneck along the way. But some bottlenecks will manifest sooner than others. And in the beginning, when you're trying to find product market fit, when you're trying to get your first clients or users or customers, it's all about trying, it's all about iterating, it's all about perfecting, it's all about getting feedback and creating that prototype. And all of those things are predicated on your self-management skills. Because if every time you fail, you go into an emotional rut that prevents you from operating. If every time that you're trying something new, you're not consistent enough. If every time you're trying to create something, you get unfocused, then you will never get past this stage. The first thing you need to do is to master yourself and being able to focus, to always be motivated, to have incredible self-discipline, because you need to create something out of nothing. And that's step number one. Then after you find something that people seem to like and seem to have results from, you need to market and you need to sell it. And that's stage number two, which is all about sales and marketing. It's really understanding what is the perfect message to sell that product. And the sooner you find it, the faster you will graduate to the higher level of business. Then the higher level is all about processes and systematization, and even technology if you happen to be in technology. For some people, tech is not as important. For others, it's crucial. It's a key differentiator. So after you have the correct self-management skills and you have the correct sales and marketing skills, it's all about learning how to replicate that initial success, how to sell 3,000 or 300,000 copies of the minimum viable product, while at the same time improving it without breaking your own core processes. And in the later stage, it's all about hiring people that can help you scale that impact without overwhelming you. And those people that you hire or you train need to have the same self-management prowess that you crafted for yourself. So this is the idea that a scale is something that needs to be respected. Not everybody deserves to scale, and not everybody should look into scaling, because most people are just not ready from a personal performance standpoint. If you're unable to remain focused in the midst of the entrepreneurial storm, when things get more complex, when new inputs get into the system and complexity becomes the norm, you will fail. Which is why I strongly tell people that the number one thing they need to work on if they want to win in business is themselves. And the truth is that if you do not have the results you want, it's because you are not as good as you think you are. So go work in yourself. Find someone who can teach you about high performance, because that's what's going to allow you to scale your business. So I hope this was useful. Please let me know in the comments, what do you think? Have you ever thought about performance as a foundational skill? Is there anything you will add to the conversation? I'm more than willing to talk to you to see what you think about this. All right, see you in the next video.